Welcome to the Mixtape series, presented by the Back in Action podcast. You'll notice across the show that certain topics keep coming up, but from a slightly different angle. The Mixtape series brings them all together. Each mixtape is a curated compilation of sound bites from across the show, where Dr. John Lavelle, Coach Dusty Holden, and Coach Josh Bunch bring their expertise, do a little myth busting, and genuinely rewire the way you think about pain, movement, and what your body is actually capable of. If every full-length episode is like a full-body workout for your brain, the Mixtape series brings you a hyper-targeted burnout set. Shorter episodes, a lot of punch. And if something jumps out and you want to hear more, every mic drop moment is linked to the original episode down in the description below. So, let's get mixing.
It can be challenging to maintain positions. But again, I think what I want to reiterate to people is your spine is created to move. It's not created just to be locked down, you know? That's the other thing about the deadlift is like, we put so much emphasis, especially in our world, on like the positioning. You got to get into the right position. But in life, rarely do we get the opportunity to like set our feet, brace our core, do all these things before we, grab whatever it is that we're, doing. So I think that's the thing. Don't be scared of certain movements. And if you are scared, you need to figure out why. Why, what is it? Maybe it's that you injured yourself doing it, or maybe you've just heard, a lot of like negative talk around whatever it is, and that's what's got you kind of like shying away. But I would tell people like, you're going to cause yourself more harm by avoiding than you are then like challenging and learning to do whatever that thing is that you're like the most scared of.
There was a study in the late 70s, I'm going to forget the author's name, but he was in Europe somewhere, and he did a study on specifically looking at back pain and discs. So looking at pressure and discs and what put more pressure on the posterior part of the disc if you had a little disc bulge, which we talked about. Everyone gets disc bulges, so we don't need to focus on that because it's basically normal. Everyone's going to have it. So that's how they started limiting movement. You lay on your back and put your legs up. That has the least amount of pressure on that disc. When you hinge at the weight, it's the most amount of pressure on the anterior part of the disc, pushing the disc backwards. So that's where that limiting hinging came from, to the best of my knowledge, from that study in the 70s.
From a single study.
And it's just propagated. So that's where continuing your education and adapting what you learn is so important in medicine, which we don't see a lot.
We would say something like deadlifting is not an evil thing. We just want to deadlift correctly.
If you hinge with a flat back, the increased pressure in that disc, when we look at it biomechanically, is almost the same as when you're standing upright.
Okay.
So, but if then you start to have a rounded back or a flexed back when you hinge, that increases almost 4 to 5 times. So that's where injury comes in, and you get shear forces on the outer perimeter, the annulus of the disc, and that's where you can get a disc herniation. So that's where form comes in so much, especially when starting to do this. We say deadlifts are safe, and they're extremely important to do with back pain and back pain prevention, but there is a risk to them. That's why having good form is so crucial.
So, and just to make sure that our listeners at home know what we're talking about, if our back looks like a table, essentially when we hinge into that position, our chest is pointed at the ground, you're saying that my back would look like a hill when I hinge over, and that would put me at a little bit more risk for some sort of injury that might come up. Would this be something that if I were to train in a controlled environment with a barbell that's perfect, that's set up for me, and I made that in a good position like you were talking about, let's say that I was able to go up to 200 pounds, would this be to where when I have to pick up the couch that's only 50 pounds, I'm never going to be able to get into that perfect position because the couch is not well suited for me? So is this, having gone up to being able to lift far more than what the couch is this what would keep me safe lifting the couch?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, so in the gym where it's safe and controlled, perfect object, I can try to actually challenge myself so that whenever I hit daily things in life in a less than perfect position, I'm probably going to be okay.
That's a great point. I think the average person like hinges at the hip 300 plus times a day.
Okay.
That's the average.
Yeah.
So, I think before you can ever begin to really start to move them and even train them, you have to be able to, one, be sensitive to this heightened level of fear and pain.
Yeah.
So you've got to really build confidence in that, hey, you can do this. So it may start with something very subtle, and then you're looking to just, increase it. And maybe that's today. For example, I had a client yesterday, disc herniation, pretty severe, athlete that you sent. And, the first time I had her to start Hinge, she was like getting her fingers to the top of her knee. But she was doing that with pretty, low grade pain. So I encouraged her to kind of hinge a little bit lower. By the time we were done, which the session went maybe 30 minutes, I mean, she's hinging down, below mid shin.
Just one session.
And I didn't tell her to keep going lower. It's just one of those things that just started to happen.
She stopped being as fearful as she could.
As she could do it and it was okay, she could tolerate it. Then she got the confidence to hinge a little bit more and a little bit more. And so she really didn't even have any awareness that she was doing it. Her spatial awareness, it was very minimal. So me bringing that to her attention, like, wow, look at the increased range of motion in 30 minutes.
So the first thing you did to get us back to hinging is limit range of motion, maybe with like a rack pull.
Yep.
Okay.
And it could even be as simple as like, I've got you against the wall and we're just kind of working our way out away from the wall. We're sending the hips back till we touch. And that each time we go out further, we're getting a little bit lower.
Less about loading, more about patterning.
I've never had a case with any of his patients where moving them and even with time loading them has increased, their pain, their level of pain. It has always diminished it.
So the more they move into the positions that they may have been told not to move into previously, and the more they load those positions, the better they get.
Yeah.
So it'd be safe to say that the athlete or the person who's going to listen to this podcast is somebody who may have been told never hinge again, never deadlift again, do only extension like you talked about.
Don't squat.
We're going to probably say something very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're eliminating it, you're holding yourself back. Your back is not going to be as strong as it could be. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can do to strengthen your back. I think the whole point of the podcast from the beginning was not for us to get out in the weeds, though. We want to try to simplify all this stuff enough to where people can take something and go do it.
That's a wrap on today's mixtape from the Back in Action podcast. If you want to put what our hosts talk about on the show into action, they've created a program just for you. For just $15 a month, you can have Coach Dusty and Dr. John Lavelle in your ear, walking you through a step-by-step on-ramp back to movement, and that's through the Back in Action program. And here's the thing, phase 1 is only 4 weeks long, which means in 4 weeks from today, you could be feeling better in your body and getting back to doing the things you love. For more information on the Back in Action program or to get your invitation to access, go to thebackinactionpodcast.com.